more than 3,200 miles to the east in the Netherlands.
Right, guys, welcome to the castle of Valkenburg, one of the mightiest strongholds in the Middle Ages here in this region.
Rick Lagina, his nephews Alex and Peter, along with Doug Kroll and Emiliano Sacchetti, are meeting with author Corian Mull and historian Jacco Silvertent at a 12th century fortress known as Valkenburg Castle. In 1307, King Philip IV of France and Pope Clement V dissolved and prosecuted the Templar Order on charges of heresy. However, some believe that the true purpose was to obtain the priceless treasures that they may have found in the Holy Land during the 12th century Crusades, including the golden menorah that once stood in King Solomon's temple and the Ark of the Covenant. Hundreds of Templar knights were arrested and executed in prisons across Europe, such as Valkenburg Castle. However, many others eluded capture, and their sacred treasures have never been found.
Mind your head. Go in.
Yeah, thank you.
Each of us, in our own way, are trying to make these very positive connections between what we're seeing and doing in the old world and how it may relate to Oak Island and the mystery.
Watch your head. Huh?
If we see that evidenced here, I think it will be quite impactful.
Be extremely careful.
Everybody here?
Yeah.
Okay, people, this is what I wanted to show you. We're in a dungeon here under the castle of Valkenburg. Our interest goes to these engravings on this 14th century wall.
If you look carefully, there is a 4-dot cross here, you see?
Yep. We seem to see these 4-dot crosses in a lot of places. We've seen it on the HO stone on Oak Island, and we've seen it actually throughout Europe. It's much more significant to us because we're kind of seeing it crop up all along this trail that we're chasing of the Knights Templar.
Could this be a goose paw?
No way. That is a goose paw. Remember when we saw this symbol in Nova Scotia?
Yeah.
That is the mark of the Masons for the Knights Templar.
Incredible.
In 2022, Corian Mull showed Rick and members of the team a so-called goose paw that, in addition to other symbols that are related to the Templar Order, was carved into the rocky shoreline in Liverpool, Nova Scotia, just 50 miles southwest of Oak Island.
That's just crazy. Doug, if you have a minute.
Yep. What are you looking at?
This symbol here I've seen in Templar prisons before, and it's sometimes described as a Viking sail.
Oh, really?
Because they had these sails with the horizontal cloths sewn together.
Yeah, I can see what you're pointing at. I mean, they are one of our primary suspects this year.
Yeah.
Just because of the convergence of so many 1200s dates.
A possible Templar carving of what may be depicting a Viking sail?
There's been thoughts that this is a Templar treasure on Oak Island, right? We know the suppression happened. We know they had motivation to maybe take something to a sanctuary far away from the Troubles. But how did they get there? How did they know about the New World?
Yeah.
So Templars used Vikings for transportation to come to the Promised Land, North America.
Earlier this year, retired professor of psychology Dr. Doug Simmons presented the team with his published research detailing how the Scandinavian Viking culture, which is known to have explored regions of North America more than 1,000 years ago, intermingled with the Templar Order during the 12th century Crusades, and may have helped them navigate across the Atlantic Ocean in order to hide their sacred treasures on Oak Island.
This might be a clue that there's a link between Templar and Viking technology.
Is it possible that Corian has just found more evidence in Valkenburg Castle that supports Dr. Simmons' theory?
That's a boat with 2 masts.
If so, could that explain not only the artifacts and structures discovered on Oak Island that may be related to the Templar Order, but also those that were scientifically traced to Scandinavia.
If there are Templar carvings in this dungeon, prison, to me that supports the idea that they did flee to the north.
Yeah,
Which is exactly what we suspected may have happened.
I agree. And they traveled through lands where they didn't have any holdings, so people wouldn't be looking for them.
There was a need for refuge, safe refuge. So where are you going to go? You're going to go to the New World, you have to cross the Atlantic. So what we are chasing now is that east to west voyage possibilities. Did the Norse really have the command of the oceans such that the Templars could rely on them?
They went a more practical way up north, using the highway of the Middle Ages, the river.
Right.
That's part of this trip we're making. We'll be off to Denmark here soon.
Oh, it's going to be a lot more interesting now we know this.
Maybe there's a missing clue.
The following morning,
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
How are you?
You're very welcome.
Rick Lagina and the team have traveled to Kerteminde, Denmark, where they are meeting with museum curator Anne Jepsen Neborg at the historic Lelby Viking Museum.
So, do move in, guys. This is going to be very, very small.
In the hopes of proving more potential connections between the Vikings and the Oak Island mystery, Rick and Doug have brought a picture of a believed medieval crossbow bolt that was found on Oak Island back in the 1960s by the late Robert Dunfield.
As it turns out, we have something we would like to show. That's currently being conserved and tested. So, Doug, I believe you have a picture of it.
I do.
It's a real interesting item and may have a story to tell.
That's the best photo I have of it.
Wow. Now we're talking. This is very interesting to me because this is the type of artifact that I could find tomorrow in an archaeological dig around here. This is very quintessentially the way that they made these artifacts in the Viking Age.
Oh.
And fortunately, I have a replica here. We have here an artifact which quintessentially looks very, very much like what we see here on the picture.
Right.
This is an arrowhead for what we would call a longbow.
Okay.
So these types of arrowheads, they come in around the beginning of the Viking Age. So we're talking about 800, we see this particular point. And then it goes on throughout the Viking Age and stops somewhere around the middle of the medieval period. So this is pre-1300.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
So this could have been used through the 1200s.
It could, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So the Vikings were very keen archers, both in war times and for hunting. So this, to me, is absolutely something that belongs to a Nordic or a Norse sort of way of doing it.
Yeah.
If Anne's assessment of this arrowhead is correct, could that help explain who created the megalithic structures on the island, such as the stone piles on Lot 15 and Nolan's Cross, which are believed to date back to approximately 1200 AD? Would it account for the other artifacts the team has found, which have been scientifically traced to Scandinavia? And finally, does it offer more evidence to support Dr. Doug Simmons' theory that Vikings assisted members of the Knights Templar in transporting their sacred treasures across the Atlantic Ocean to Oak Island as much as 800 years ago?
So, and we're always trying to put extra things, right?
Yeah.
We have a list of usual suspects for the activities on the island regarding the mystery.
Yeah.
So we just have to take this information back and build on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you.
You're very welcome.